Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We do have quorum, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the SJVA PCD Environmental Justice Advisory Group meeting. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation via Zoom and webcast. Before we begin, here are some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices such as your cell phone. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute by the host. Public members will not be able to mute or unmute manually. Audio from members of the public will be unmuted once they are recognized to make a public comment. At this point, I will call the meeting to order and ask the clerk for roll call, please.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Martinez? Mr. Graywall?
Here.
Mr. Freitas?
Here.
Ms. Gucciel?
Here.
Ms. Vielma? Mr. Helm?
Here.
Mr. Williams? Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Liba? Mr. Sanders?
Here.
Mr. Cunha? Mr. McLaughlin? Through the chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And now I'll ask if there are any corrections or additions from the members of the committee to the minutes previously submitted from our last meeting. Not hearing any.
We can call for public comment on the minutes.
Okay.
Any public comment in Bakersfield on the
No
minutes?
No public comment in Bakersfield?
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any public comments on the minutes?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Seeing none online and none in Fresno. Chair, if it's
Okay.
now you can approve them.
Hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. And item number 4, at this time is made available for comments from the public on matters that are not on the agenda. It is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The public may make comments on each EJAG agenda item during the time allowed for public comments. Attention is called to the fact that the EJAG is prohibited by law from taking any action on discussion of matters that are not on the agenda.
Hey, are there any public comments in Bakersfield?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Any public comments in Modesto?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment? Seeing none and none online.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, we're on number 5, chair comments. And I don't really have any at this point. So I think we can just go right into update on the attainment plans and rules.
Gonna lower the chair really quick.
I'm glad I wasn't, we had to as well up here. It was like, oh.
My feet were dangling a little bit.
Just through the chair. Also, I just want to put it on public record that Ms. Martinez has joined the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Nealand, and I'm the Director of Air Quality Planning here at the district, back again to provide you with an update on our recent plan and rule development efforts. The majority of my comments today are with regards to recent EPA actions that I want to keep you briefed on. The first of which is on October 4th. Prior to our last meeting, EPA took final action to approve our PM 2.5 contingency measure SIP revision, which also included amendments to rules 4901, which is our rule for residential wood burning, and 8051 for open areas. And both of these rules included contingency measures. So that's great news that EPA just approved that package. Tomorrow, EPA is expected to publish 2 actions in the Federal Register related to our ozone contingency SIP revision, specifically for the 2008 8-hour ozone standard. And the first action will propose to conditionally approve our submitted contingency package and the commitments that were within that package. And the second action will stay the application of permit offset sanctions and defer the application of highway sanctions. And then my last update is, as part of that ozone contingency package, we committed to amending 5 coding rules to include contingency provisions. And so just wanted to provide you with an update that we have started that rule development effort. And with the upcoming actions in the Federal Register, we plan to schedule a public workshop here in the coming months. So I will keep you updated once we get a specific date scheduled for that. And that's concludes my updates. I'd be happy to take any questions you have. And really quickly, the ozone actions that are expected to be published in the Federal Register, that's not within the packet because we just found this out today. So if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer that.
Okay, thank you for the update. At this point, Katrina, will you please show that the record show that Manuel has joined us?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Cunha is now in attendance. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Keith, did you have something you wanted to? Yes. Yes.
Can you repeat? Oh, thank you. Naomi, thank you for the updates. For the last ozone update that you said that contingency measures will be published today or tomorrow. For which year, for which standard is that?
Yeah. So in the Federal Register tomorrow, the actions will be for the contingency package for the 2008 8-hour ozone standard. Our contingency package included contingency measures for the 2008 and the 2015 8-hour ozone standards. But because EPA had previously disapproved the contingency measures for the 2008 standard, they're taking action on just that portion at this time, and they'll take action on the 2015 standard, I assume, as part of when they act on our 2022 ozone plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
Yes, thank you. Sorry for being late. On the submittal to EPA in July by CARB, our SIP, right? We had asked, and I don't remember, and maybe one of the staff can correct me. We had asked that Dr. Cliff had forwarded the plan to Region 9 for approval by EPA. In that, he sent a document to the administrator, I guess, on what those things were that the board approved. Have you seen that document?
Yes, so we did
Okay,
send that out
okay.
to EJAG a couple months back.
Beautiful, okay.
The change that was made was specifically to the CARB resolution. And so we sent you guys a copy of that new resolution. It was a very minor change that was incorporated. I'm not aware of any additional document that was submitted with additional changes. So it was just that resolution language. And we had sent that out. I'd be happy to forward that out to you again if you were
No,
not able
no,
to get it.
I had gotten it because we had requested in the CAC, and I didn't remember if we had done that in the last EJAG or not.
Yes, yeah. So
So-
we shared it with both CAC and EJAG.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very, very much.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from Modesto?
No
I
public
see.
comments in Modesto.
Okay, and are there any comments from Bakersfield?
No board comments and no public comments in Bakersfield.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Emily. Okay, and we're on to number 7. Update on district implementation of Drive Clean in the San Joaquin Vehicle Repair and Replace programs. I was too short.
I'm just gonna leave it. It's okay.
Are we having a Goldilocks thing going on?
Well, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brian Dodds. I'm a grants program manager here at the district and happy to be here with you this evening to talk about the implementation of our vehicle repair and replacement programs. So as you may be well aware, reducing emissions from mobile sources is a key strategy to meet the district's federal air quality attainment standards. Our voluntary incentive programs play an important role in reducing emissions from mobile sources in order to reach these goals. The Valley residents that reside in low-income and traditionally underserved communities are highly impacted by older vehicles They have higher air pollution, higher emissions, and higher associated fuel costs as well. Our Drive Clean in the San Joaquin Incentive Program offers Valley residents the opportunity to reduce emissions from their vehicles from 3 different program options, one of which is our repair program that we'll talk about this evening, our replacement program, and our rebate program. Our repair and replace programs are specifically designed for residents in traditionally underserved communities, while our rebate program is available valley-wide. Unfortunately, that program just recently closed due to high participation, oversubscribed the funding that we have for that program, but we'll focus on repair and replace this evening. So our repair program provides residents with options for reducing their emissions by providing financial assistance or incentives for smog-related repairs. This program is implemented in conjunction with our partner Valley Clean Air Now. They've been with us since the beginning of this program. Traditionally, the program has operated through a series of weekend screening events that rotate throughout the valley. At these events, vehicles are tested to determine the likelihood of failing a smog test. Those vehicles that fail the test are provided vouchers, which are redeemed for up to $850 in emissions-related repairs, which includes the pre and post smog test, diagnostic time, and emissions-related repairs. And again, these are redeemed at participating STAR-certified smog shops throughout the valley. So these smog shops meet the higher standards of the Bureau of Automotive Repairs. We want to ensure that customers are being treated fairly and that their work is being done appropriately. Many vehicles that go through the program are unregistered. So once they complete the smog certification process, they can be registered again, of course, paying any applicable fees that may be associated with that. Several years ago, a direct participation process was implemented and approved by the governing board, and that allows Valley residents to contact Valley CAN directly in the absence of weekend events in order to participate. So many residents may need emissions-related repairs. The event may not be in their area at a time that's soon, so they can contact Valley CAN, get an appointment with the smog shops, and get tested to see if they would qualify for emissions-related repairs. Same incentive amounts, whether you go through the weekend events or you go through the direct participation process. Valley CAN is the primary outreach mechanism as well, and they do a lot of outreach throughout the valley in disadvantaged, low-income, underserved communities. In the last fiscal year, so in fiscal year 23-24, the events that we held, 16 events, resulted in over 3,100 vehicle repairs, while the direct participation process resulted in about 15,000 repairs. So 18,000 repairs of high emitting vehicles in the fiscal year 23-24 timeframe. Our weekend events continue to receive a lot of participation. They're also a great opportunity where we can engage residents on our other programs, including the replacement program that we'll talk about, as well as our lawnmower programs and burn cleaner or wood stove replacement program. Our repair program has been recognized in a number of ways for its efficiency and its equity in reaching participants. A UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation report discussed the district's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, where we outlined and rolled out our direct participation process. It applauded the district's response in addition to the environmental and economic benefits of the program. The program continues to reduce vehicle emissions and improve air quality in the San Joaquin Valley, and also commended the district's efforts in reaching disadvantaged communities through the implementation of our replacement program. The California's fourth climate change assessment report acknowledged the district's efforts in reducing vehicle emissions in the San Joaquin Valley, and that our tune and tune up repair program is a model of balancing efficiency and equity. So we're really proud of those recognitions. It's a primary goal that we're trying to achieve with the program, in addition to reducing emissions, is making sure that we're reaching the right audience for this program and providing the assistance that we can. This is the calendar of events that we have for this fiscal year. Some of these have obviously already happened as we're nearly into November, which I cannot believe. But our next event is coming up here. Just had one in Kings County. We'll have one in Bakersfield here coming up as well. $12 million is included in the current fiscal year budget. We intend to hold 16 weekend events in addition to continuing the direct participation process, with the goal of achieving about 19,000 vehicle repairs this fiscal year. So we continue to try and push the envelope in terms of the number of folks that we can assist here. I think some of you have been to events over time, but here are a few pictures just to kind of represent what happens. Normally at an event, we have anywhere between 350 probably and 550 cars that show up. A lot of them show up before the gates open at 7 a.m., very eager to participate. And by noon, generally we've been able to help everybody and kind of close down the event. So a lot of action happens in a short amount of time. And generally, I think people are pretty satisfied with their participation at the events. So as kind of a complement to our repair program in 2014, we implemented a pilot vehicle replacement program that was in conjunction with our repair events. So we would talk to people whose vehicles were older and in need of repairs that it may not be the most cost-effective option. So we talked to them about vehicle replacement. This pilot program really led to and served as a pilot program for what's now become the state's Clean Cars for All program. And over the last 9 years, the district has received over $92 million in state funding to operate our vehicle replacement program, the Clean Cars for All program, as it's known throughout the state. Incentives for this vehicle replacement program range from $7,000 to $12,000. They're based on the income level of the participant, whether or not they reside in a disadvantaged community as defined by CARB, and the type of vehicle that they're purchasing as a replacement vehicle. So fully electric vehicles get slightly more than plug-in hybrid vehicles that get slightly more than traditional hybrid vehicles. At the end of this year, the traditional gas-powered hybrid vehicles are being phased out of the program based on CARB's program requirements. The program also includes options for alternative mobility as well as e-bikes, and currently we've replaced over 6,700 high-polluting vehicles with cleaner models to date, and the majority of the vehicles kind of fall into that plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle option at this point. Again, this program is implemented with Valley Clean Air Now. As the outreach partner, they utilize a grassroots outreach model to reach low-income and underserved community residents throughout the valley. This is primarily through a series of weeknight application events that we have in communities, small communities, large communities, medium, everything kind of in between, where at a local business, traditionally a restaurant, we invite people in and we talk to them about the program, help them with applying for the program, with the paperwork that they might need. I've been to these events. They are a really positive experience. It's great to talk to the folks that are there that are looking for some assistance. We found that really engaging with residents on that more personal level is very effective and getting them to understand that it's a real program, that we're available to provide assistance, and what they can expect in terms of participation. In order to get the word out for these events, we utilize partnerships with community-based organizations to communicate program information, as well as using localized social media outreach in order to connect with residents. So kind of trying to use a variety of methods to help get the word out about the program. This approach to program outreach has resulted in a very high level of participation throughout the district. For this program, as with many of our other programs, we've traditionally been oversubscribed, meaning we have more applications than we typically have money for. We've been able to assist residents from more than 98% of the Valley's disadvantaged communities. A few of the remaining communities are census tracts that either have very low populations or they're census tracts that include prisons and things like that, that we're trying to get to 100%, but we may not be able to get all the way there. The program has certainly been effective in reaching underserved communities and assisting in the transition to cleaner transportation. Again, a Less Center report highlights the ability of the district to reach residents, and that we're largely focused on reaching low-income communities and communities of color through a variety of outreach approaches while still attaining emission reductions. And this report was in the context of looking at program implementation statewide, comparing some of the things that we've been able to do compared to some of our other agencies throughout the state. And we're really trying to ensure that we meet the intent of the program here. And this picture here, just to point out, is from one of the weeknight events. As you can see, the residents come in with their paperwork and they get individual attention and assistance from a member of the Valley Cleaner Now team to assist them there. So recently, the district was awarded an additional $14 million from CARB to continue implementation of the program. Earlier this summer, we needed to stop taking applications because we had received more applications than we had available funding for. This $14 million is allowing us to take some additional applications so that we can support additional replacement projects. That $14 million represents just over $11 million in project funds for vehicle purchases and just under $3 million for program administration. CARB had held this $14 million in sort of reserve from last year's light duty transportation spending plan. It was intended to support additional implementation in districts. We ended up receiving the entire $14 million that was held in reserve, as the other districts were not really in a position to need additional funding at the time. So I think that speaks to our ability to spend the funding that we have and service as many people as we possibly can in a timely fashion. This $14 million will support about 1,000 vehicle replacement projects. It just kind of depends on the makeup of the projects. Again, partnering with Valley Cleaner Now, who will be responsible for program management and oversight, outreach, assisting applicants, and coordinating vehicle purchases with applicants and dealerships. I think one of the things that's unique about our program is that we provide assistance through the entire step of the process, from submitting an application and turning in paperwork to ultimately a representative is there with the participant as they're buying their vehicle at the participating dealership. We have the check available for them. That incentive is immediately used to reduce the purchase price of the vehicle, so they don't have to carry a higher loan and wait for reimbursement or anything along those lines. It's immediately available at the time of purchase. These are some of our participants who have gone through the program with their new cars. I always like to see the end result of our process. And really, when you look at the old car and you look at the new car, you can certainly see that there's a big difference and improvement there. And really proud of the efforts that our team puts into assisting participants here. And lastly, just in terms of how people can participate in the vehicle replacement program, we'll have workshops currently scheduled through the end of the month. We'll likely have some that go into November, but we're quickly approaching the point again where we'll have enough applications for the funding that we have available. Program participants must meet the eligibility criteria, of course, for the program and provide documentation that's required for income verification. They have to have a driver's license, have to own the vehicle, and has to have registration and insurance over the previous 2 years. And they must be a resident within the San Joaquin Valley Air District here. Evening clinics are scheduled throughout the valley, and it can be found at Valley Can's website. In addition, an online application form that we have is available at any time and can be accessed through our vehicle replacement website through valleyair.org. And with that, that will conclude my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, go ahead, Naomi.
Thank you. Very comprehensive report. So here's my ignorance, but I don't understand the difference between events, the vehicle repairs through events, and then through direct participation.
Yeah, and thanks, Naimeen, for the question and opportunity to clarify. They end up getting to the same point. There's sort of two methods for how you enter the system. You can go to one of the weekend events that we have scheduled throughout the valley and participate. If your vehicle fails the test that we do there, you get a voucher. You schedule an appointment at a participating smog shop to get your vehicle repaired. If you would like to call, you could call right now and call Valley Can and say, my vehicle, it's going to fail the smog test, or I know it's going to fail the smog test. The check engine light's on. I heard you have a program to provide some funding. They will connect the participant with local smog shops that they can go to and provide them kind of the instructions for participation. If they go to the smog shop and they fail the test, then they're provided up to $850 in emissions related repairs. If they happen to pass the smog test, well, that's great. They've passed the smog test. They don't need emissions related repairs. That smog test, though, is still covered by the program. So a couple of different ways to get connected with our participating smog shop network. And that's, hopefully that helps clarify it.
Absolutely. I was not aware. I always thought that they had to go to those events to get, so good to know. And then my second question is related to the 1,000 vehicle replacements that you will be able to do, or maybe you are already doing because this money came in the summer, you said. So how many applications did you have kind of in a waiting list, if you will? And are you still allowing more applicants or not? That's part one. Part two is those 14 million are separate to what the funding that is available in AB 617 communities, correct?
Correct. Yep. So separate funding source, the 617 will continue no matter what's going on here. Before we had the 14 million in additional funding, we probably had a couple hundred additional applications for the amount of funding that we previously had. This additional 14 million probably allows us to take about 900 to 1,000 additional applications, of course, because some drop out along the way. We don't want to maintain a huge list of people who applied and, with no definitive answer to tell them one way or the other. So we're aiming to accept about another 1,000 applications. I think where we're at right now, we probably need another maybe 3 weeks, maybe into mid-November or so to take applications. But we're seeing a lot of participation at these weeknight events. And so there's no shortage of demand. We think that with a couple additional weeks of participation, we'll be at the point where we think we've got enough participants. And we're continuously working to identify additional funding sources to hopefully bring in more money to support this program.
And I think it's great that we're in a position, thanks to all of your hard works, to be able to take the 14 million all for ourselves so that we can, clean up our air and help more folks that so badly need it. I think that's wonderful. Daniel, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes,
Yes.
again, thank you very much. The one I attended in Merced in June was your last one before you got the infusion. I was told that there was more money, but I remember walking in that line and talking to those people. And it was great to see the staff humanizing the people that brought their papers and how they handled them. And it made them feel really valuable as an individual, even for their educational levels. The part that was exciting to me to hear is that you gave diversity. You gave latitude of flexibility. And talking to 3 of the folks there, what they liked about this, their car was going to be electric and fuel because they work in the fields. And they said, there's no power out there. And there isn't. If there was, it'd be stolen by the end of the day or by the end of the night. And you couldn't believe the motivation of how the district, had that initiative to know you can buy a car that's dual. When you're in town, you drive electric. When you're going to work, it's far and you go this distance, you go on fuel. They were secured that they were going to make it to their job. They said if it was all electric, there's no way. There's no way. They'd be worried every day. But when I talked with those people, when you first started this thing with Jamie and her tune-up program, you've come such a long ways and you've helped so many people. If the legislatures don't see what this air district does for the people compared to the other 33 air districts, I don't care if it's the South Coast or the Bay Area. They got 19 million people down there in the South Coast. And here you have about 4 million. And you get the monies like this to show. It tells me that you, as an air district, the board and the staff, you really care about the people. You really care about these rural communities. If it's Stratford, if it's Orosi Cutler, any of those. So whatever we can do, and I hope that maybe as we move along here with EJAG, the funding appropriations, as the new cycle starts, that we really need to push on CARB to, it's fine, you got 33 air districts, but if they're not really doing anything, then why should we be hindered back to not get more money? Because that day in June, that was sad. When you did, people say, are we going to make it through today? Are we going to get through the line? And that was a concern. So I hope that we can do something with a letter, Madam Chair, in supporting the funding and making this legislature, even from the standpoint of the Ag Committee and others, to support funding for this program. Because when you go there yourself and you're in the line and you're watching and talking, you guys have done a tremendous accolade, and I commend all of you at the district and the board and the program as far as how it's being handled and directed through through the program is excellent. So I just want to say great job, and make sure we always have diversity of fuel, a battery and some gasoline, so that everybody can do what they need to do. So thank you very, very much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Manny.
Keith, did you have something?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to get the numbers right. Could you just give me like the overall amount of dollars that were committed to the program and the overall amount of vehicles that were repaired or fixed?
So in the previous fiscal year, we had $12 million allocated to the program. We did just over 18,000 repairs. Same dollar amount for the current fiscal year. We're hoping to, bump up the numbers a little bit. We think we can do a little bit more and hope to get to about 19,000 vehicles this fiscal year.
With how much money?
Same $12 million.
Same 12. So if I divided 19 into 12 million, then tell me how much per.
Correct. And yeah, there's different expenses related
Yeah.
to program implementation and things like that are part of that $12 million. But yeah, on a per vehicle cost.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It's an excellent job and great report. Thank you.
Randeep or John in Bakersfield, do you have any comments or questions for Ryan? Okay, thank you. And Thomas, my gosh. Sorry. Names are going right out the window. Mr. Hope. Do you have any comments in Modesto?
Yes, it's Richard O'Brien. During the CAC, we discussed battery replacement. I'm not going to go through the discussion, but as we continue pushing electric and batteries, we have no plan for disposal. And a lot of these batteries are being, the end of their shelf life. And without a plan, it's going to be stockpiled somewhere. And that's going to be a hazard. Same thing is that even with the hybrid cars or the electric / gas cars, the batteries are going to have a shelf life. And just like the fire we had with the big trucks, they also have the same type of fire hazards. And we need to move cautiously. It's great to do it rapidly, but we have to have consequences kind of sorted out. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire discussion we had.
Yeah, I agree with those comments as well. That's been a concern because we know a lot of the times where those battery recyclers end up in low-income environmental justice communities, definitely been a concern. I wanted to share kind of a happy story. My aunt here locally in Modesto utilized the program. She had a very old a Toyota and got herself a new hybrid. And it's kind of the opposite of the situation where farm workers, but other workers too, where if they can't charge it at work, if you need to charge that battery fully, you're either doing it while you're working or while you're sleeping at home. And she's retired, and she lives in an apartment complex, and they have like assigned parking spots, so there's no way she would be able to charge it at home. So she would have to drive somewhere, maybe like during her shopping, but that might only be an hour or two at the most. So she did get the hybrid option. So just pointing out that she had that experience. I know it took a few months there, which I know everybody's doing the best they can and are running a good program. It was she just shared with me some of her experiences in going through the program, and it's kind of like a lot of people are waiting till maybe they're like, okay, my car might be starting to have some problems. It's getting up there in age. And then starting the process, she was kind of worried like, oh, am I going to be able to get a new car before I have to make some major repairs or anything like that? So luckily it all worked out for her. But she says that it was, there was a couple bumps in the road going through the process. She had to clarify a few things. But in the end, she did get herself a new hybrid vehicle. So she wanted me to just share that. And yeah, thanks for continuing to push for this program and doing a great job. Thanks.
What a great story.
Thanks for
That's
sharing.
wonderful.
Appreciate it.
There was a comment, Thomas, about using your aunt for a commercial.
I'll run it by her.
Well, you need to run it by the PIO first.
Oh, I was.
Sorry, Jane.
Madam Chair,
Sure.
I would like to take on the discussion. We had this discussion even at the CAC. Is the storage issue of used batteries. Because car batteries that have the lithium probably are 250 pounds, 500 pounds, maybe. But when you look at a 3-axle tractor, that's 11,000 pounds, 45 to 5,000 on each side of that truck. CARB needs to have a plan. And I don't think we should be saddled with it. I'm greatly worried about open lots. I'm worried about my farms. Right now, we are a place for tires, and they consider them toxic. A tire that's thrown on our field by some some tire person or individuals or company. But I think how this may come about, I would like to have, if we can at least have a discussion with Edie Chang, Michael Benjamin, or Dr. Steve Cliff, or in charge of enforcement, Beth White. What is their plan to deal with this? Because we're not going to be the dumping community for Los Angeles or San Francisco. We're not going to be their septic tank. And they'd like to make the San Joaquin Valley for all their garbage. So I think we need to have a plan, and we need to have somebody start from the district making that an item. And I don't know how we, taking it to the board and a recommendation from the EJAG and maybe from the CAC, because we have brought it up, that this needs to go forward to the board and have a pretty serious discussion about these batteries. I don't need fires on farms,
Mhm.
and we don't need people doing things that are hurting rural communities. Thank you.
Through the chair, this is Jess. We definitely can take, at least as an initial step, reaching out to CARB and talking to make sure we have the appropriate folks and talk to the appropriate groups and committees and boards about where that update belongs. Thank you, Manuel.
And we're moving it on our side.
Great.
I don't need a 4,500-pound battery sitting out in our field, but we are working, so maybe together they may take it serious enough. But I don't want our rural San Joaquin Valley communities a dump, Thank you.
Chair, I got kind of an important. I got some people telling me online that they can't get logged in and they can't call in for the meeting. Would we have open lines and the capability for people to get on? Everything looks good? Sorry, Chair.
Okay, that's fine.
I just wanted to confirm that, but what would the phone number be that they could call in? It's right there. See it all.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna add, I think it might also be pertinent to address this conversation also with some of the other PDOs at Cali PA that obviously deal with trash. I don't know if that will be DTSC because it will contain some hazardous materials, can recycle, but I'm sure that CARB would have to approach any of those entities for help on how to go about this.
Through the chair, I think, yeah, that's definitely an excellent idea. Thank you, Naimeen. We'll engage the appropriate agencies and follow up with you all. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If there aren't any other questions, we'll go on to number 8. Winter residential wood smoke reduction strategy. Welcome to the Goldilocks seat.
Thank you. It's a bit low.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Klassen, Director of Air Quality Science, and I'm joined by Jamie Holt, Director, Chief Communications Officer. Sorry. We're going to present this item, giving you an overview of the wood smoke reduction strategy and what we're planning for, which is going to start November 1st, this next wood burning season. So I'll start with a little bit of background. As we know, exposure to wood smoke is impactful to our health. There's a lot of research out there that has established this over time. This has an impact on lung disease and decrease in lung function for children, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, heart failure, and even neurological effects. Some recent research has been showing that as well. And as the image on the right hand shows, the smaller the particles are, the deeper it can get into your lungs and into your bloodstream and affect a lot of things going on in your body. So we want to try to reduce these particles as much as possible. And during the wintertime, residential wood burning is one of the largest sources of PM 2.5. And this is significant because often during the winter season, we have temperature inversions with the weather that places a lid over the bowl of the valley. And so emissions like this can get trapped near the surface where people are living in their neighborhood. So this is a big issue during the wintertime. And so we've had a long strategy to address this over the decades. We have our program in place where we have achieved a large number of emissions reductions over time compared to where we used to be versus where we are now. And like I mentioned, these activities are happening right in neighborhoods where people are living and playing. And so getting these reductions right there is really key in those neighborhoods. Our curtailment program runs from November through February each winter season. So like I said, this is going to start up just next week on November 1st. And this program has helped us achieve a number of milestones for air quality. It helped us get into attainment of the PM10 standard many years ago. the 24-hour PM 2.5 standard of 65 micrograms per meter cubed. We're getting very close to attaining the 15 microgram annual standard. And then we're making progress towards the other standards, the 35 microgram, 24-hour, the 12 microgram annual. And I don't have it listed here, but the latest standard, the 9 microgram annual standard, the EPA just established earlier this year. So this last winter season that we had, this was the 5th winter season where we implemented the rule changes that we put together in 2019, which established the hotspot approach where some of the counties that needed additional emissions reductions, Madera County, Fresno County, and Kern County, they have lower curtailment thresholds that you see on the right-hand side of that graphic. So they have more wood burning curtailments called than the other counties that are the non-hotspot counties. And we've been running it this way for the past 5 winter seasons to get those additional emissions reductions in those counties where we need it the most. And the program also has public education and incentives and other requirements that came along with those 2019 rule amendments. Just wanted to show this real quick, just to compare, like I mentioned, how far that we've come. On the left-hand side, you can see during the winter season, the number of good and unhealthy days among the Valley's counties. So green days being good and red days being unhealthy or worse. So you can see back about 25 years ago in the 1999-2000 winter season, which is when we first started to measure PM 2.5 in the San Joaquin Valley, you saw there were significantly more unhealthy days than good days during the winter season, which is not where we want to be. That's not a good picture there. But then we go forward in time and now look at where we are, where the last winter season, we had only 1 unhealthy day across all the Valley's counties. And then of course, significantly more good days. So this is a great story that these unhealthy days are becoming less and less frequent. We're almost non-existent at this point. But we still need to make more progress. There are still unhealthy for sensitive group days, orange colored days. We need to keep reducing those types of days to meet all the federal standards. I wanted to note here too on this slide, this shows how as time has gone on, we've continued to see a reduction in average PM 2.5 across the Valley's counties during the winter season with each rule amendment we've made over time. So this shows the 4 different rule amendments that have happened over time, the 2003, 2008, 2014 to 2019. And it's interesting that we've seen in the winter season, right after we made a rule amendment, we saw a reduction in our average PM 2.5, showing that as we've continued to make our program more stringent, we were continuing to see some reductions in PM 2.5. And we've seen that going forward in time, which is great to see. And progress is great, but we're not there yet. We still need to meet a number of other federal standards for PM 2.5 that are in front of us. Even the new standards can be very difficult. So focusing on emissions reductions from residential wood burning will continue to be a big part of the strategy. Thinking about how we can get even more reductions going forward. And at this point, I'll hand it to Jamie to talk about our outreach strategy.
One of the really unique things about our winter residential wood smoke reduction program is it has a variety of different components to it. Key to that is our grant program, which incentivizes folks to go in many cases, in most cases, from a wood burning device, be it a wood burning stove, a wood burning insert, or an open hearth fireplace, to a natural gas device. And depending on where you live, that can be upwards of $5,000 with a little extra added on to help run the gas line and help do some additional kind of structural work. We also, in addition to encouraging that natural gas switch, we do really push those folks to look into heat pumps. And heat pumps are a great way to heat and cool your home. And if you happen to have solar, they can be basically zero fossil fuels, depending on at their time of use, depending on how many solar panels you have. The other thing that we do in those areas where there is no natural gas, really these are usually our mountain areas, our Oakhurst, our Corscoles, our Three Rivers. We do have limited funds that will allow you to go from an old uncertified EPA wood burning device to a certified EPA device. That's in a really niche area. We don't do a lot of those anymore, but we did want to see those pollution gains in those mountain and foothill communities as well. We do a lot of outreach about this program, of course, both in English and Spanish. Another great thing about this program is we work with partner hearth retailers to run this program. And we do have over 30 hearth retailers that we consider to be suited for our low income communities. And what makes that a little bit different is that they do give the incentive at the time of purchase. So for those folks who aren't low income, it's basically a rebate. It's a check they get sent to them by the Air District. For those folks who go through the program as a low income individual, it's an actual reduction on the price they're paying to the hearth retailer. So it makes it much easier for our low income folks to take advantage of it. We have seen cases where people kind of put the different parts together and it's been as low as less than $100 out of pocket for some folks. We ran a lot of outreach with regard to this program. 20 plus years ago when I started, folks felt very strongly about this program. They've actually slowed down a little bit and they understand. And we've really, in recent years, have done our best to communicate that when you're using a wood burning device, really when you're using an open hearth fireplace, especially, the folks that are going to be most impacted by the particulate matter that's coming off of those open hearth fireplaces, it's going to be the people living in the home and the people living on either side of you. It's a really localized, significant impacts from either these older devices or these open hearth fireplaces. And we really work hard to make sure that folks understand that. We work with our local partners to not only talk about when we do have these curtailments in place, but when we do have these stagnation periods. And, thanks to you all, we work with some of you during the winter when we have these weird weeks where it just gets really still and nasty for a couple of weeks, to make sure that folks understand that air pollution is bad and they really should be doing everything to protect their health. We also want folks to understand that there's a myriad of things that they can do to reduce emissions during the winter. This program and the curtailment levels not only impact whether you can use your wood burning devices inside your home, it also declares whether or not you can use those outdoor fire pits or chimeneas. We've given tickets out for that as well. I mentioned the heat pump, and then we use our website, our social media posting. We do some paid media just to make sure that folks are aware of this message. That paid outreach includes bilingual advertising on network TV, cable TV, and what they call CTV, which is connected TVs. Those are your Samsungs and your Vizios and your Plutos and your all the things where people aren't getting traditional cable anymore. We do social media advertising on Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, Instagram, digital advertising. These are search engine optimization and marketing that really helps us hone in if someone's searching for firewood, maybe. We're going to see that. And then same way when I tend to have a lot of dogs or dog products in my feeds because they're trying to sell me things related to dogs because I'm often looking at dogs. So if folks are searching for certain things, we will then pop into their feed and say, hey, have you thought about taking advantage of our grant program? We can help you swap out that fireplace that you're looking to buy overpriced wood for, and you can go to a cleaner device. We do have a smartphone application, which in addition to giving the daily curtailment status for your county, it also has the feature where you can actually file a complaint if you think your neighbor is burning. And then we send out a lot of press releases and talk to valley meteorologists and weather reporters on a regular basis. This is just an example of our outreach. We do have a variety of commercials. We have commercials. We have both an English and a Spanish commercial. And about the change out program where someone went from a fireplace to a gas device. We have one where someone went from a fireplace to an electric heat pump. We do a lot of social media. And then this year, you'll also see us, we have some targeted social media about that chimenea outdoor fire pit issue. Compliance activities. We do a lot of education and really try and get people to understand why they shouldn't be burning. If you do get a ticket, that ticket's $100, but you can cut that amount in half and take it down to $50 if you attend our ever so exciting smoke school, which educates you on why you shouldn't be using your wood burning fireplace. We don't go on private property. We don't knock on doors. We use a variety of different technology that's really good in low light so that we can photograph usually smoke coming out of a backyard or a chimney. We also respond to a significant number of complaints and really go into those neighborhoods where we know they're older homes. Most new homes do not have wood burning devices. They're older neighborhoods, older homes, neighborhoods where maybe we've seen evidence of a lot of wood burning in the past. And then of course, those areas where we do have complaints. Really, our goal is to get the public to understand what's going on, get them to support our program, take advantage of the grant program, and then to get them into compliance. Looking ahead, as you all know, we have some really tough air quality standards that we need to meet. As John was talking about, even though we've come a long way, we still have quite a ways to go to meet the new federal standards. And we're going to be looking at potential opportunities for enhancing the strategy overall. We do expect that process to begin in 2025. And as always, we'll be sure to come back here and talk to you all about any changes to the program that we might be seeing and rolling out, not before this season, which starts next week, but for next season, which will start for the 2025-2026 wood burning season. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment that I'm really glad that you called out outdoor fire pits and chimeneas because just anecdotally, recently, my daughter and son-in-law allowed me to come with them house hunting. And they found a house and it has a beautiful back patio. And the first thing my son-in-law said was, "Oh, this is going to be beautiful for our wood burning fire pits." And I said, "Not if you want to have to pay for it.
Or have me come over.
Or have me come over." Yeah, so let the record show Katrina that it is, you know, it is a thing. This is, you know, yeah. But that it is a serious problem, you know. I mean, it's like, it's one thing, you know, when that's your only source of heat, but you know, when you're in Fresno, I mean, the likelihood of that being that way is very slim. But I just wanted to just anecdotally say that thank you for calling that out specifically.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
I have said this probably 3 years in a row, and I'll say it for a 4th time. It is so incredible the number of homes that have their fire pits in Halloween. So the day before the curtailment starts. So this message that you have here in that health public, think of how it's affecting your health. They're around the fire pit with their children, breathing all the smoke. I think something in social media, the Nextdoor app or something, so that people at least they start to understand that what are the repercussions for the health of their children. It's just recreational. Oh, it's cozy. We're gonna be around the fire pit, and you know, frankly, why can't we start the curtailment one day before? In this enhancement of rules, you might want to consider that. The other thing is, it is true. I think there are many homes still, you know, I live in Clovis, but just like literally there's a lot of county islands like this with my neighborhood. So I saw a house with their fireplace on January 1st, and it was like 1 p.m. So it was not even cold at all. And they have their fireplace on. I reported it, and they called me back and say that because they have a propane gas tank, they could see that they were exempt because that's their only source of heat. But they're in the city. So I think these are things that like kind of loopholes that I think at this point where we need to reach 9 micrograms, we have to start going to those extent. Otherwise, you know, what are we gonna do?
Before I call on anybody else, that reminded me to ask about the different languages. There's English and Spanish. Is there any other languages?
Hmong and Punjabi are the two other languages. And then if there is a specific need, we have done certain Spanish dialects, we've done Arabic, we've done other languages where we've had specific needs.
Okay, thank you. Keith?
Okay, got a couple of things here. First one, is there an exemption if they don't have any other source? I think that's what Naomi was talking about. So propane doesn't count as a heat source, right?
Well, in that case, they're allowed to burn because propane is not considered a piped in natural gas. So if you do not have access to piped in natural gas, which is the majority of folks are in our mountain and foothill communities, although there are some county islands that also do not have piped in access to natural gas. If you do not have access to pipe in natural gas, you are exempt from the curtailment levels.
Okay, and then another question is, or an observation maybe. Solar lithium batteries put out a lot of heat. So I'm just wondering if there could be a study done for the heat recovery off those, like a heat pump, and use the heat coming off the solar batteries to utilize that through forced air. Yeah, it might be a thing. Might be. They put out a lot of heat. Lithium batteries. That's why they blow up.
Got a lot of heat. I just wondered. I haven't ever heard of capturing that.
Yeah, if you put a shroud, so or a room, put them in a room. One of my biggest concerns I just want to bring up is on the wood burning. A friend of mine was doing a social feed the other day on social media, and he was up in the Sierras, real close by Shaver Lake area, showing where the burn scars are and all the burn areas. And there's guys up there with the state or whoever, feds or state, and they're piling up these piles, huge giant piles of wood that were burnt from the forest. They're collecting them and dragging them all into wood piles. It reminded me of the farmers out here burning their waste from taking out an orchard, and they're preparing to burn these piles of wood up there. Does the Air District know that that is part of the program to allow the state and the feds to burn wood like that when everybody else can't burn wood? I was just curious.
Yeah. I see your point. Yes, but we are aware of that. The agencies up in the mountains do pile burning, prescribed burning, different fuel reduction efforts to reduce the fuel up there, and some of it is burning the material. So yes, that does happen up there.
And then just through the chair, that's done though in a way that it's in coordination with the Air District. So we allow it on days where we know the dispersion is going to be such that it won't be impacting, or at least there's minimal impact as a trade-off to sort of the benefit to reducing the instances of big, large wildfires like the one that you just mentioned.
So I'm just curious so you're saying that the collection and piling of the wood in stacked wood and putting them in separate piles like that, you're saying that burning them is necessary at that point? Because it would seem to me that clearing and putting them in a pile, maybe I don't understand some of it, but putting them in a pile and separating from the rest of the forested area allows them to go ahead, and that's a clearing of the forested area, which is part of their agenda, is to clear it out for the next, so they don't have fires in the future. But you're saying that it's allowed by the Valley Air to go ahead and burn those piles of wood because that's their only option. They can't grind them like farmers are being forced to grind their orchards. So if they can't grind their orchards, that's not an option. I'm just curious.
Yeah, let me set some a little bit on this for you, Keith, as well. the prescribed burns between the state and feds have plans. They definitely coordinate with this air district. They coordinate very carefully with ARB. The piles you're seeing could be a variety of issues. They are logging tremendous amount of that wood that was in that fire. Something of 121 million trees that they're dealing with of burned. A lot of those are logged. Number two, the air district has permits through air curtain burners that they are using in the hills. Air curtain burners are extremely clean. And that is the wood that cannot be logged off. They will not burn a pile of logs that can be milled. If anything is worse than that, as far as it can't be milled, they're using air curtain burners. I do know that there's like 7 or 8 air curtain burners in the Shaver Huntington area that are dealing with that. So they are being responsive. When they do control burns, they have a right to do control burns in coordination with the air district on its air quality monitoring. So there is a tremendous, and I mean, the air district has, when we were talking about ag burn, there was a discussion on the other side going on as well. And they have a great concern about that. So the Forest Service between the feds and the state are doing their part. But I do know logs that you're talking about, I've seen that. Those logs are being hauled off to mills, to logging mills, away from here because there's no logging mills here. So I just want to give you that little info because we have been in those discussions. So the district does one tremendous job in monitoring and working between them and ARB.
Where can I get that? Where can I
Just
fact check that to find
just-
out that that's where they're taking the wood? Where do I fact check?
just go to the feds, to the Forest Service, go to CAL FIRE or whatever. And like, ask what they're doing with tree removal. And they'll tell you, if a log is good, they're gonna log it. If a log is bad, punked, what we referred to maybe, they're gonna grind it or they're gonna burn it. But they're burning it in air burners. They're not just setting up a high school bonfire like we used to do. I had a question though.
Okay.
It's always my question, so you want to have to put it in there. You have to. It's called propane. If we don't have natural gas as described, a person could purchase propane and use a propane heater or heating system to run their dryer, let's say, for example, if they don't, or to run a heater. But propane, I know where I lived in Sanger, there was no natural gas, no way. My source of heat was either an open fireplace, which I never used at all because of other reasons, but I was able to use propane to run my furnace or my stove, and that is still allowable, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, just because we don't say propane here, but if somebody wanted to buy a propane system, would we fund that? to help them?
Correct.
Oh, perfect, excellent, great, thank you, Jimmy. That solves my 100%
What kind of system was that?
propane.
What kind of system?
Well, it's a heating system, or it could be for a dryer. It's like natural gas, but it's called propane, and you're familiar with that.
Yeah, you're talking about changing their dryers over and their ovens and
No,
stoves
no,
or their-
no. If-
or their barbecue or what? What are you talking
Well,
about?
it could be a barbecue. It could be from a wood to a
I'm just kidding.
propane barbecue. The district allows propane to be used where natural gas cannot be used because there's no natural gas. But yet they want to do something clean. They don't want to go to a wood pellet stove. They don't want to go to wood. So we say, okay, we can provide you with a propane system. The propane is very clean. And
Thank
they're
you.
doing that but thank you.
Thank you, man.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from Modesto office, Richard or Thomas?
Hey, I was curious as somebody that grew up and lived a lot in East Stanislaus County. We're near the foothills and go out, up in the foothills for drives. And I've noticed a lot right over, the county line when you're just out of the valleys. jurisdiction, there are a lot of folks, wood burning. I'm not sure if it's their main source of heat or not, because it is a rural area. But has there been a attempt at seeing, I know they're outside of that jurisdiction, but opening up the program to, maybe a few miles outside of the valley? Because I'm sure some of that smoke does come into the valley. Just curious if maybe that's come up in the past and I forget, so sorry. Well, I'll let you answer that real quick before I have a couple other quick questions.
Our funds, due to where they come from, whether they're state, federal, or even local dollars, are limited to those folks living in the valley. Having said that, we do work really closely with the state Association of Other Air Pollution Control Agencies. And there are many similar grant programs that are run in other parts of the state. And then there's also an EPA program that does have funding to help folks swap out those older wood burning devices. So our funding isn't really able to be used outside of the valley jurisdiction. There are other funding sources. Not knowing what area that is and not having a computer in front of me, I can't tell you exactly what they might be eligible for, but there are other potential funding streams.
Great, thanks. I'll keep that in mind. My other question was, as far as the comparison to what it costs for a natural gas inserter stove or an electric heat pump to the rebate that they're getting, is that comparable? Is it about the same percentage of the overall cost? Do you know, did that make sense?
It really depends. I will tell you that electric heat pumps are that there are less options to get an inexpensive electric heat pump. And so whereas with some of the going from an open hearth fireplace to a gas device, there are some cases where we may even pay 100% of that. That's not going to be the case at an electric heat pumps right now. And I will tell you, to pay 100%, that's if you have all the infrastructure already in your home. That is, maybe you already have a gas line going that you were using to light the wood on fire, and you're getting kind of a bare bones gas device. And of course, you could get like the Rolls Royce of inserts too, and we would, we're not going to give you more money. We're going to give you the same amount of money. And in that case, you might be paying 2 or 3 times what your rebate's going to be. The inclusion of electric heat pumps is fairly new into the program, and we are starting to see folks be more interested in that. I think a big part of that has to do with just gas prices, natural gas prices. And folks see the beauty of the electric heat pumps is that it is a relatively less expensive way to both heat and cool your home. And so while you may have to pay more out of pocket up front, depending on your situation, there's a pretty good chance that your overall PG&E bill or SoCal or whoever your utility is bill year round might actually come down.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I was wondering if, so it sounds like because they're more expensive, you're not gonna usually be able to pay for the whole thing. I think it is important to keep in mind, I know it's not as bad as, direct wood smoke, but we are learning more and more about indoor pollution related to natural gas appliances and the benzene that can, be in the home because of a minor leak or something like that. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And the last thing I was gonna say is kind of a story like somebody else shared about, I talked to a neighbor one time, really nice guy, and we were chatting, and he said something about, oh yeah, and sometimes after football game, we'll be over here having a little fire in the backyard, and you're welcome to come over. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. My son has asthma, and he can be strongly affected by wood smoke. And I think, like I said, really nice guy. I don't think he really thought about it, or has been, told that before. So I just thought of like, the ad campaign of like really saying like, do you know that your neighbor's kid might have asthma, and just even a simple fire. I've never actually smelled it or coming from his house. I think it's kind of a late night thing and my kids are probably in bed already, but just a thought for folks that, you know, they want to do the right thing, but they just haven't even thought about it before or been, you know, told that.
Yeah.
So that's all. Thank you.
Exactly. Okay, are there any questions or comments from John or Randeep in Bakersfield?
I got one question. I don't know if the district talks or reaches out by city for any type of ordinances for fire pits that are sold. It seems like we're kind of catching it on the back end
Oh.
when somebody can go and purchase a fire pit, and maybe there should be a sticker on there or something that says you might get fined $100 if you use this. But it seems like it would maybe be low hanging fruit. We can probably catch it from the front end. Just a thought.
The solo stoves are the bane of my existence right now. We have looked into that and we have tried to work with various folks going way back, even as far as this is 20 years ago, working with Duraflame. Basically, we wanted some labeling on Duraflame that Duraflame's wood. You don't get a free pass if you're burning a Duraflame log back 20 years ago when people thought that. One of the challenges is that most of these companies are manufacturing and boxing all of their stuff in one location and then shipping it all around the United States. What we have done is that we have advocated at the state level for maybe some state labeling, and Duraflame actually, I should say, manufactured wood logs now do have some labeling on them that you have to call a number, go to a website and find out whether or not you can use them. And so we have been attempting to make some inroads into some of that kind of point of sale labeling or messaging that comes out. But I think it will continue to need to be coming on a statewide level, if not a national level, to remind folks that some of this stuff, it might be regulated. You may not be able to use it whenever you want to use it.
Thank you.
So that's a great idea. Conversion kits. Valley Air District could sell conversion kits, provide conversion kits for those fire pits. Convert them over to propane.
We actually don't want the liability of that.
I don't think so.
So that's why through our grant program, you actually have to go through one of our registered hearth retailers. We want to make sure, and it does come up a lot that folks say, well, I want to go to Home Depot and buy an electric fireplace that I plug into the wall. And we say, okay, if you want to do that, we're not going to give you money for that. But if you do go and then have your fireplace professionally closed up, that can be having a metal lid put on the chimney, that can be bricking up the fireplace, we will give you $750 for that. And then you can plug in whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but plug in your electric fireplace.
Thank you for that update and for all your comments and questions. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9, AB 617 and community engagement update.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I missed you all last month. And since we only meet every other month, I haven't seen some of you in some time. So it's good to be back and to provide you with an update on our 617 implementation. And as you've seen the past probably 4 or 5 meetings, we've now made this also just broader valley-wide community engagement updates. I always show this slide because it's always worth the reminder of where we do the core 617 work. But as you'll see through the rest of this presentation, we go so far beyond just these 4 communities. But it's important to remember, and I'll talk a little bit about it in a second here, that South Central Fresno and Shafter, these are communities we've worked in for almost exactly 5 years now, and actually really 6.5 years if you think about when we started planning and we started meeting with these groups. It's actually almost been 5 years since we had CARB approve the community emissions reductions programs. How many meetings? We're close to 100 because I know I want to make a big celebration. That's a great question that Naomi just asked, but it is wild. Maybe not quite close to 100, but we're in the 70s. And that's for South Central, Fresno, and Shafter. The year after that, Stockton was selected, and then the year after that, Arvin Lamont was selected. Each one of these, we meet monthly still, for the most part, with these communities. We are going to, I'll talk about it in a minute here, but we are going to eventually transition to kind of a different feel, especially for the year one communities, maybe meeting quarterly, talking a little bit with the community about what they feel makes sense. But as you can see at the bottom, each one of these has unique measures that we are targeting to reduce emissions and reduce exposure. Not every measure is about emissions reduction. Some are about protecting health and improving the community. This is a picture. I'm so proud of this picture. This was last Monday. In Shafter. We have been trying to, when it makes sense, and don't worry, Naimeen, we are also doing this in Fresno soon, to meet in person when it makes sense. And COVID, I think was beneficial in that it allowed us to meet with people maybe more often or as often as they needed us to, and allowed people to be safely in their homes, especially during the pandemic. But I think we also missed that opportunity to connect. I feel like we move so much along, and that's really what this slide is trying to show you. On the left-hand side, these are a unanimous decision to add more money to replace low dust nut harvesters in Shafter and really improve that ag measure. And that's just a testament to, these are mostly residents who supported that. And that's just a really cool testament to how much work we've done in partnership with the ag community, the ag commissioner, the residents, the Farm Bureau. It's just one of my favorite pictures from last week. And then just here on the right, this is just another example of some of the partnerships that we've been able to create with the cities and the city and the county and Shafter, and something that we hope to do in the next few months as we continue to work and do in-person meetings for all of our communities. We are also approaching every, I feel like I'm sorry, like creating a problem here. Every December, we take an annual report to our board just to talk about progress in each one of our communities. This year, and we'll definitely share it to you all when it's ready, we are trying to have a different flavor of what that annual report looks like. We are putting it on something called a story map, which is just a more visual way to show the report. We want folks, this is just a couple of screenshots. You might be able to see Naimeen in that picture. That's a couple of screenshots of some cool things we've been able to do in each community, but it's a much more interactive way to scroll through the report rather than have like a 20, 30, 40 page report that we know maybe not everyone has time to read. And so you'll see kind of that new flavor of report. We're showing these to all of the communities the next few weeks, and we want each of the communities, of course, to provide feedback to us. And again, we'll take this to the board and then forward it on to CARB starting in December. But we're doing so much more. And this is just a list I put together the other day of just in the past few months, we have been partnering with community organizations, with the economic development commissions, with city mayors and city councilors to come to communities and meet them where they're at. We have either been mostly in person, but in some cases virtual to each one of these communities just in the past few months. I'm gonna highlight a couple. We've partnered with a couple of community-based organizations, including Naimeen, Topi, and Terabella. We have worked with folks. I was in Madera this morning meeting with community members. We met with the Visalia Economic Development Commission just last week to talk with business owners about how they could take advantage of grant programs. We were at the Pistachio Festival in Avenal this Saturday, Mayor Preciado, and working with some other community-based organizations to sign folks up for clean air rooms. So we are everywhere, and we are trying to continue to build relationships. That's really the goal of our department, is to move beyond 617 and meet communities where they're at. Several of these groups that I have listed here are meeting in resident-led and resident-based communities, and also looking to build those partnerships that I just showed that we've been able to bridge between business, industry, and community members. So let us help be that bridge if we can be for you. Please reach out if you'd like our team to support your work. I always like sharing this progress slide. This is just in 2024, just kind of moving on to something that we've been able to do. I think it's such a core piece of our community engagement recently is our Valley-wide Clean Air Rooms program. Just in 2024, we've been able to distribute over 5,000 units. This is outside of 617. So in addition to the about 3,000 we've done with 617, and spent almost $1 million, we have about $1.5 million remaining. Right now, this is still distributed by county, by population. So we are close to a wait list or on a wait list in Fresno. And we are, yes, which is incredible because Fresno had a lot. But continue to work with us. I can see some faces right here. We are going to continue to try to find ways to make sure folks are still able to take advantage. We've been able to make sure we just, as we get more funding in, because some of the way that we're getting the funding kind of comes in batches. A lot of our funding is coming from the SEP program. So that's the alternative settlement program through CARB. So we don't have all the money up front, which is why we sometimes go on a wait list and then end up funding folks. So please continue to work with me and reach out with me. I know a few of you are helping us do a lot of great outreach, and I'll even show the flyers that we're I've shown this a couple of different times, but I think it's a good reminder. We have flyers available. I think we've sent some out to you all, but please let me know if you need more outreach materials. And we definitely, for most of the counties in Fresno, we'll definitely double check. There's still units available. We want to make sure folks have time to take advantage. I actually think that's my last slide. So I'm happy to take any questions or feedback or comments from the group. Thank you.
What great work. It's awesome to see the progress. Naimeen, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I just want to recognize the effort of the Air District. As you all know, there were wildfires in Coalinga not long ago. And, you know, people were desperate because it was at the same time when it was hot. So that a lot of them have their farm coolers on, bringing all that smoke into their homes and having to make that tough decision of, do I bring the smoke in or do I tolerate the heat? So we reached out on Tuesday night to Samir, Ryan, and Jessica. And the next day they had the staff there taking applications for the air purifiers. I think that day they just completed like 50. And then over the weekend, our staff did another, I would say 100. So there were 150 people in the area that had been affected by the wildfire, benefiting from these air purifiers in the best moment possible for them. So thank you. However, I have to say some of the things that we have also seen in implementing this program is that there's counties where there's no more money. Your county doesn't have any more money. My team is like regretfully telling people Madera doesn't have any. So I don't know if that has changed or there's plans to reallocate. I mean, just the second thing that we had also brought to the attention of the Air District is that, you know, obviously this was not in the mindset of whomever, you know, designed the system, but there's homes of low-income families, especially migrant families, farm workers, that are sharing a house or an apartment, more than one family. So the problem being that if, let's say Laura and I are sharing a house, if Laura had applied, that tagged the system that she had received the air purifier, therefore I cannot apply. So that is limiting many of our lower income families to be able to apply for one. So we brought that to the attention of the Air District. So we hope that there's a way of, you know, without opening the doors for people to double dip, but also not eliminating, you know, making people fall through the cracks just because they cannot afford living in a, you know, a single home or so. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'd be happy. Definitely thank you to Naimeen and her team for that partnership in Coalinga. Not only were we able to get almost 150 folks signed up, but we expedited shipment and made sure that folks got it within a few days. So definitely thanks in huge part to CCEJN. There should be money in Madera County as of this morning. Like I said, it's just the way that the funding comes in, and we're trying to work on a mechanism that doesn't keep opening and closing it as such. And so one of the things, definitely I'll work with my team to make sure we can keep folks updated on the status so that when you go to do outreach, it doesn't be like hit a wall and then kind of surprise you a little bit. And so we'll definitely work on that and make sure we communicate that a little bit better. And Naimeen is right. Her team and others have approached us about the same issue, and we are definitely eager to find a solution that makes sense, that doesn't also compromise the program, to Naimeen's point, and folks take advantage of multiple. One of the additional things to add to Naimeen's concern is folks have also been talking now, you know, some folks got it last year or maybe even the pilot program 2 years ago, and we gave them a purifier and one replacement filter. And although maybe to you and I, a $40, $30, even $20 filter might not seem like a lot, it is a lot to some of these families. And so what we've been able to do is partner, at least with the current purifier we are sending out to folks, to get a coupon code. Anyone who's signed up for an air purifier in the past year received a note from us with that coupon code, so they can go on the particular website and buy a purifier with a big, I believe it's 20% off code. So of course, that's not everything, but it is something, and hopefully that is helpful for folks. I just wanted to add that piece as well.
And what's the total amount that we have for the 4 areas, of course, but for the valley? Let's just talk about the district having also providing the air purifiers, right? What's the total money? I mean, we know that we need 40 or 50 million for the cars, for the program, to do what it's supposed to do, okay? I know where I would take it from, high-speed rail, but that's me. Okay? That's not the district saying anything or anybody else, because to me, it's more valuable. What is the total amount for the air purifiers? So we don't have a runoff, we don't have money, right? Because when I talked to those people that day with that cars, they were worrying, were they going to get funded that day?
Right.
Because that ARB was sitting on 30 or 40 million. Well, 250 million, I should say, back in June, I guess when we went, or July. So is there an amount of money that is allocated for the program by the state, right? And again, where those areas are really doing 7,000, 5,000 and more. So that's my first question to you. And is there an answer? Do we know what that number is?
Yeah, so I can just to help clarify a little bit. So this funding is kind of a combination of it. The 2024 funding is a combination. The number I reported does not include our 617 funding, which is allocated in each one of the SERPs. So setting that aside, that is $3 million for those communities, and we're setting that aside. Within 2024's funding, we have an EPA grant that we went after, and about 700,000 of it came from that grant we were awarded last year. So 700,000 came from the EPA grant. There is $2 million that we were awarded through a SEP. So just to remind folks, when there is an alternative settlement through CARB, the way the program works is that our SEP was accepted into the program. And as folks get violations or penalties from the state, they can opt into one of the many programs or projects on that SEP list at the state level. And it is up to them if they, per whatever amounts that they agree upon with the state, want to take advantage of one of those SEP programs. So we don't get all $2 million up front. We get pieces as some of that settlement is happening at the state. So in reality, we have up to 1.4 million left in the program that could be available, but not all of that money is in-house. So it's not necessarily that it's being sat on, because it's not actually CARB money. It's just money coming directly from the businesses and the folks that are settling. Sometimes we get large settlements, people, pay and they choose to use that piece. Sometimes it's a smaller amount, and so maybe it's just a few here and there. That said, the money that we do have in-house, for the most part, with the exception of a couple of things here and there in Fresno that we're working on, should cover most of the counties as we sit here right now. And we double checked that this morning with some outreach that we were doing with folks. Additionally, to Manuel's point, and understanding where you're going with this, we're actually applying, we've already applied right now to another round of significant EPA funding for a community change grant program for up to $20 million for a variety of things, including air purifiers for low-income disadvantaged communities. So we're trying to continue to bring in these different sources of funding.
Because I know our organization, we were contacted by Kings and Tulare and Fresno Health Department to issue N95s. So we went to the community, to the farm workers. We would go to them and provide free cases, a box of 20 of N95s to the workers. And we were doing that several times this summer. We did that. I think we distributed, a case has 48 boxes. That's 960 individual N95s. And we provided 40 cases to those areas, to the workers. And nobody was charged, not one person, because we went around and asked. We weren't going to let that happen. But if there's somehow, some way, as we work forward, for the farmer funding this year, right, for our tractors. That maybe with your district is that we go after a couple of these other programs that we tell the legislature we have to have, so that the district has tremendous more flexibility of having funds available. Because a clean air filter is not that costly. But I like the concept, you buy you get a filter, but we're also going to give you a free one. So you have one, and then there's a coupon that's good for a year at 20 or 30% off. To me, that helps a lot of families. But as the Kalinga fire issues, and I mean, we were called on that one, and we went right out there. And we even gave the city of Kalinga, didn't have in the department of their little fire department, and they didn't have nothing. So we took it to them right away because people were paying bills. They were asking the cities for it. So I just think if we can partner together with some of these things together, along with the CAC in our letter campaign, that if the EJAG an environmental group of 617 as well as us, the EJAG, we get some initiatives to where, I mean, we're spending a lot of money up in Sacramento. I want to know what happened to 95 billion in 22 when we had a surplus. We didn't see it. But we're spending a lot of money on a rail. I get it. But I don't get it when we have these type of fires and conditions. That should be the first priority. And so maybe together, I mean, we can figure this thing and get some to where we walk together, or say we march together, but we walk together in Sacramento to the legislators, including the Ag Committee and others, I think, to help the district get funds, because you're doing your part through EPA and other things. And that's tremendous. You don't have to do that, and you're doing it. So, but whatever we can help as industries working together with our partners, with NIMEAN and others, I think is important. So thank you, but a great job. Even with NIMEAN and others for doing the outreach on the filters. I think that's super, and good job, good job.
Keith, you had something?
Okay. Number one, Derek Williams said to tell the chair that I am watching on Zoom as a member of the public. Just wanted to put that out there. And
Thanks for tuning in, Derek.
he's doing his job. Number two, as a Kings County at-large representative, and I want to preface my comment right now, because I want to make sure you understand, this is not directed at any agency, any government, anything, affiliation. But as a member of at-large member of Kings County, I've just been informed by a couple of groups out there, that a couple of people I know, that they want to make sure that the district doesn't have a double standard or a perceived conflict of interest of burning that wood up in the mountains when all the ag people have been shut down totally from burning wood. So they just wanted me to, my constituent base basically wants me to speak up on that. So I'm doing that on behalf of my constituent base. It's not maybe not a personal feeling I have. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Madam Chair, through, if permissible, why don't we have Ryan Hayashi attend our next meeting, who's in charge of the burn program, and have Ryan come and do a presentation. So that way, Keith, to your clients and many of our farmers, and I think we've done a great job with our burn program. I'm pleased at what, yeah, we have issues, how we're burning and stuff, and not burning, but if that would be acceptable.
I was going to also suggest that in the future topics, especially because there's a bill that was, that passed this, was approved this year, that will have more prescribed burns starting next year. So, I think I was just thinking that in reality, a lot of these prescribed burns have been very limited in our area because we have non-attainment for PM. So I think it's important to understand how these new recommendations are going to play over in our region, and you know, how their district is going to manage that of, I mean, because yes, I understand that these prescribed burns, one of the main purposes is to prevent a massive wildfire that then is gonna put us, you know, in
Worse.
severe problems. So, but I also understand that allowing these burns to happen could have an impact of smoke in our area. So it's always that balance of how, where to put the line. So I will be very interested in
Let's
the
have a
new
present-
practices with that new law.
Because the smoke goes somewhere.
Mhm.
Right, but they just,
Smoke goes somewhere.
I've seen it. I've been involved with this since 93. With the valley on the smoke management and everything with the prescribed burns and all the forest. And the district does one heck of a job of monitoring that movement of air going up, not going horizontally across into, you know, into Fresno. But I think in fairness to the air district, into the forest, I think to have a presentation by Ryan and whoever else he wishes to have will be a very
Great
good,
idea. Great
a
idea.
good, you know, and that way everybody gets the answers they need or the correct information.
Yeah, through the
So
chair, we
that-
can definitely make that recommendation. That's
Great.
great. Thank you.
Okay, John, Randeep in Bakersfield, did you have any comments or questions? Okay, how about Richard or Thomas in Modesto? Okay. Thank you, and we will go on to number 10, appoint ad hoc EJAG grants committee. I'm going to ask Jessica to kind of give us all a refresher, and I know that Randeep is new to this group. So yes, Jessica, if you would just kind of give us a refresher on what that is.
I would love to. Yes, absolutely. So as you know, and it was mentioned actually a couple of times today, and certainly most of today's presentations were about our incentives programs. You all play a really pivotal role in working to help ensure that the grants programs serve the disadvantaged low-income environmental justice communities. And the grants subcommittee is one that has been established for a long time now and generally meets in the afternoon right before our January meeting. So usually 4 or 4:30. And in this case, that would be January 23rd, 2025, in case anyone was wondering. And they discuss and approve the recommendations for the district's upcoming budget. So the district generally takes a draft of our budget to our board's grants subcommittee sometime in April. We finalize it in May and then officially adopt it in June. So January is a time where we come to you all with just what we plan to spend our funding on, maybe even what we advocate for funding from the state and the federal agencies. And so taking that recommendation from that grant subcommittee is usually then taken to the main EJAG committee that same day. So during the January regular EJAG meeting at 5:30, if there's a recommendation from the subcommittee, then the EJAG would then ask any clarifying questions and then adopt the recommendations and forward that on to the district staff to then share with the board for approval. So in this case, and what we've done is, as with any subcommittee, we can't have a quorum. So up to 5 members. If we have, of course, if there are, you know, maybe a 5th member or rather a 6th member, maybe can be on standby in case one of the 5 members can't attend. That was a recommendation that we heard actually from Mr. Williams last year. Appointments don't require a formal vote. It's actually chair prerogative to appoint these members. And maybe with that, I can turn it over to the chair to see if there's any appointments or if you want to check availability for folks for that day.
Okay, yes. So with staff's help, wanting to cover the whole air district purview, some of the names that we ran up were from the Central Valley here, Fresno area. Derek Williams and Naiming, if she is willing. And if Derek will chime in to Keith's phone, since he's on Zoom. From the South Valley, I was thinking, Randy, you might want to do this if you are available. And if not, that's okay too, if Sean wants to do that.
Eric just said he'd be glad to.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Randy, if you want some time to think about it, you don't have to decide right this minute.
Yeah, I'll probably get back to you on that. I may have some things going on at that time in January, but I'll find out and let you guys know as soon as possible.
Okay, perfect.
You can tentatively put me on the list.
Okay, okay. And I forgot to also mention myself that I would sit on the committee as well. And so from our Modesto office, I was thinking of SB, but because she's not here to accept or not, would either Richard or Thomas want to do this?
I've done it before, and if SB can't make it, or you want me to be the backup person, I'd be happy to.
That would be perfect. And then
I'm on it.
for,
I'm unable to, this is my last meeting.
oh, okay. Well, thanks for letting us know that, Richard.
Yeah, Richard.
I appreciate that. And then as an alternate, Manuel, if you would be willing to work as an alternate to the
Absolutely.
alternates.
Whatever, to the, whatever,
So-
whatever,
so we-
whatever you need help with, we will definitely.
So we will have,
Okay,
okay, so we will have enough coverage.
yes.
From all different, I feel like that kind of covers all the different industries, all the different sectors. And thanks to Jessica and staff's help with all of that.
I would move to approve as a motion, if that's.
Through the chair, it doesn't require motion or
Oh, it
approval.
doesn't.
But
So-
I will unanimous.
Sounds like the chair appreciates the support.
I do. I do appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
And just through the chair, we'll work with the folks that were listed and double check availability. But just to clarify, I have SB, but if she's unavailable, then Thomas. I have Chair Laura, Chair Gutierrez, Nayamin, Derek, sounds like he accepted, so thank you. And then Randeep will check if he's available, but if not, then Manuel can be our next person. Awesome, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And now we'll move on to number 11, district comments.
I like the end of the meeting. I just get to talk a lot. So thank you. A couple of things, and actually related to some of the discussion that happened earlier. We actually, in addition to our regularly scheduled monthly governing board meetings, every year we host a governing board study session. And for a number of years, it was held in Bass Lake. We try to kind of do it off campus, if you will, a little bit. And it's kind of a time, it's usually a 2-day board meeting, and it's a time for the governing board members to dive deeper into a couple of different issues. Last year, we held it up in Modesto. And so for the sake of now kind of spreading it around this year, we are holding it on November 13th and 14th in Visalia. And actually on the morning ahead of the event, we are having something that's called our Clean Air Equipment Showcase at the Visalia Convention Center Plaza. So it's just outside where we're going to host the meeting. And we're having a variety of different clean air equipment, electric vehicles, electric trucks, a couple of different pieces of ag equipment. We're going to have a couple of different key partners and agencies out there at the showcase to meet some board members. You are all certainly invited. It's open to the public and definitely something we want to encourage, certainly local folks to the area to come and attend and support. And then during the day, all day on the 13th, and then most of the day on the 14th, we will dive into a number of key issues. I'm not going to list all of them here, but I'll just highlight a couple that I think you'll be mostly interested. The first one on here is an update on the wildfire prevention and response strategy. A lot of that coming from what Nayamin and Manuel and Keith were just talking about we'll have folks from the land management agencies, so like the Forest Service and CAL FIRE, to talk about from their perspective, how they're managing the forests, what they do with the woody waste material. We'll have an update on the community engagement efforts. Of course, also really kind of digging in a little bit to what we do collectively as an EJAG, but also on the broader community engagement that I've updated you on today. We'll talk a little bit about our public facing air quality tools and real-time air advisory networks. That's our RAN system. And in addition to a variety of other things, one of the other things that we like to do at this meeting is get the California Air Resources Board and Environmental Protection Agency in front of our board and in front of our public members to kind of answer some of the questions I think a lot of folks have about their plans and programs moving forward, certainly on the regulatory side, and how they can be a part of the solution to help us address certainly the stringent standards that are coming down. So that's my first update, and definitely eager and excited to share more information. We can have Contrita send out more information as it's available for those that are interested. November 13th and 14th. That is a Wednesday and Thursday, and that is at the Visalia Convention Center.
Oh, that's nice.
Awesome. Yeah. So starting at 10 a.m. again, we'll send out some more information, but starting at 10 a.m. is that clean ag equipment showcase. Clean air equipment. I shouldn't just say ag. It is not just ag. Additionally, and it sounds like I have to add to this list because of the announcement we just heard from the north from Mr. O'Brien, but we are still working on some vacancies. And I know a few of you I've reached out to, and definitely keep working with me and keep working with the folks that you know are interested. We have 2 ethnic small business owner slots still available. And we have 1 Merced County at-large slot available. And so we'll also definitely work with the CAC to see if, of course, a new primary member as needed for the city interest group representative, which is currently where Richard O'Brien sits on the committee. So that's just my reminder to you all to keep working with folks. I know a few of you have reached out and maybe the particular person hasn't applied yet, or maybe had some questions. So if that's the case, or you think they might have, we haven't received anything. So we definitely are happy to work with you and make sure that, you know, you guys keep spreading the good word about how much fun this meeting is, and maybe people will come. Go ahead.
Can you resend the application? Because I send them to both one person in Merced and the small business. And, but I can follow up if you send me the application again, please.
Yes, absolutely. We can do that. Thank you. And what we'll do is we'll just maybe resend an announcement to all of you. So all of you can go send it out to the folks that, that you represent and that you work closely with. So I appreciate that. And with that, that concludes my district comments.
Okay. And then were there any questions for Jess? I'm not seeing any hands or anything. Okay. So then number 12 is potential future EJAG meeting agenda items. We've already discussed the burn program stuff and people that funding, yeah, and bringing people to come in and
Yeah, the
talk about
funding,
it.
yeah, the funding for what the next legislative session is going to take on.
Mhm. Okay.
Especially when the governor has now carried his second deficit over into the new budget year, another 27 billion. So I think we should have.
I think your mic needs to be.
Sorry, I think we should just have the staff, maybe Tom Jordan and others, and let us know what's up and what we need to do to help. I think that would be really good to have that, so we can plan. Thank you.
Through the chair, as a reminder, just to set expectations for timing when some of these agenda items can happen. Generally, during our January meeting, we would, as I mentioned earlier, take the EJAG incentive spending plan recommendations, which doesn't maybe not always take a lot of time, but we also generally do our annual review and recommendations for our 2025, in this case, goals and objectives. So as I have this list down, I just want folks to know that I'll work closely with the chair to identify which meetings make sense to add some of these to the agenda. Some of them, I believe, to Mr. Cunha's point, are more timely than others.
Yeah, agreed. Is any, Thomas, well, I was gonna say Thomas or Richard, but being this your last meeting, Richard, Thomas, do you have anything to add to a future agenda?
Nope, not at the moment. Thanks.
I do. I suggest that we get US and Cal EPAs together to give us a plan on the lithium battery recycling. I know it can be done. They have the plan for the small batteries, but for the 6,000-pound batteries, they're going to have to be stored before they could be transported, and how's all of that done going through through cities or other populated areas? Because it's, to me, it's critical. Something should have been thought about years ago.
Yes, agreed.
I have one.
Okay,
I just want to thank you, Richard, for your service.
48 years.
Thank you.
any additions for our future agenda items from Bakersfield?
Yes, John Sanders. A future agenda, 2 future agenda items. One of the things we do is we get AC units from, made specifically for California. And I have some people I know in the business, and some of these units that we source from places, they're made cheaply and they do not last. It would be good to challenge the suppliers that we, as a group, have put into place to say, why are you charging more? And how come these don't last? Like, say, if I went to Nevada or Arizona and bought one and put it on my house. That's the first item. And then I think we should make a fund for people who use biodiesel, as a requirement to lower the reductions in pollution. Because the biodiesel clogs the filters. And maybe the people who partake, the people who buy the biodiesel, maybe they should get filter vouchers or something, or something could go through the actual fuel supplier. So those are my 2 agenda items that should go on at some point. I understand that, this group probably isn't worried about the guys driving the diesel trucks or the AC units, but this is a big deal. I mean, I've had to replace that one I bought in California 3 times in 2 years. Luckily, there's a warranty on it twice, but and the biodiesel, I have 200 units that have diesel, so I'm a little tired of replacing the filters. But what do? I just keep on doing it. So, thank you.
I don't know. John, are you just talking about just on rolling stock or like standalone diesel burning engines for pumping or whatever?
The anything that has a diesel filter, whether it's rolling or a farm pump,
Okay.
or a guy going to mess with the fossil fuels, which is taboo, but we shouldn't have to, pay $300 every time we clog a filter, and then we got to have an electrical problem. Then we break some fuses, and then we got to tow the thing in, and then, we ought to be able to do this. We ought to, all get along. But this biodiesel stuff, it's costing a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yes. Okay, those are all really good. And we'll do our best in the next year to get everything, on the agenda, in a timely fashion. I also want to take one more opportunity to thank, Richard, for your service. We really appreciate it. I'm sure you'll be missed. And then at this point, I also want to go on to agenda item number 13, the second opportunity for public comments.
Thank you. Are there any public comments in Modesto?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Any public comments in Bakersfield?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Okay. Seeing none in person, I do see that Mr. Williams has his hand up to comment, so let me give him that opportunity.
Derek, you got 3 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll be darned. Okay, I was just sitting here watching, not even knowing I could talk. Well, thank you, everybody, for letting me be able to sit here as a member of the public and hear everything. I wish I could have been there, but I'm 2,700 miles away, and I will look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting. Thank you for all you accomplished today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Derek. Be safe. Okay,
Thank you.
and then we'll move on. We'll move on then to number 14, EJAG member comments. Let me go ahead and start with Modesto. Do you have any comments you want to close this out with? I'm seeing shaking heads. Okay. John, Randeep, anything you have to closing comments?
I'm closing comment. John Sanders. Hey, I was reading some information about environmental justice advisors in the federal world and how they raked in nearly 500 million from taxpayers. I think it's kind of not fair how people on the inside are able to go reap the benefit of this ill-gotten money in some cases. And the way I see this is some of the activism or advising, it gets bad real fast. You know, there's a lot of
John, are you saying that-
people. There's a lot
I'm
of
sorry.
people that don't do this correctly. So I always want to be sure that as a group, we don't fall into this category of people who are benefiting from environmental justice advising. You know, we're actually doing an advising as opposed to, you know, going and having our little side businesses that make money and we get salary for it. So I just think that it's worth saying that people I know, they kind of laugh at me and they go, well, yeah, that's the people that, you know, you're probably talking to the people that do this. And I always defend that. No, our guys are, you know, trying to do the best we can. But now I would hate to find out that that's the case. So it's worth noting that it's out there and this happens some places. So I hope that we're in a good space because California is a good state and we shouldn't have to worry about this, but I do worry about it because a lot of people have brought it up to me. So I'm just throwing it out there. If that, you know, to say, I hope this isn't how our group operates. And I don't have an indicator that we do. I just hope we don't. That's what I have to say.
So I have lots of things going through my head. So are you saying that some EJAG members in other places are like being paid to be part of the environmental justice group?
No, it's more so maybe there's a not-for-profit or some sort of group that goes out and, you know, is activist for a cause, some of our causes, and then they have this thing and then they're getting money. And I don't know that it's our group or not. It's just that it was brought to me and I'm like, I don't think that's the case, but you know what I'm saying? You know, these guys are kind of pushy. They're the kind of guys that start digging around stuff. And so I'd like to understand that it's not happening. You know, I hope it's not happening. And I'm just telling you that around in the couple circles that I can run in if I choose to, very pessimistic about it, EJAGs per se.
Go ahead,
Chair.
Naimeen. Yes, please.
Well, I think that it is important if we're going to make this type of comments to have sources. Because we all know that we don't get paid any dime to be here. If you are part of other advisory groups, you are not paid. So I think that, you know, a part of maybe your due diligence is to, one, understand the sources, two, educate the people that have this wrong information of how things are. Because I think it's one thing that they could be thinking about is that, for example, the Environmental Protection Agency at the federal level has been issuing grants, which is very different to pay you to be in an EJAG position. A grant is like the grant that the Air District received. There's community-based organizations, including the one that I direct, that has received a grant with a contract with very specific activities that we have to do, like any other contract. But that doesn't mean that we'll get paid to be part of any EJAG. And to my understanding, there's an environmental justice advisory group at the federal level that was formed with this administration that is unpaid as well. So it's important to check our sources just to make sure that we are all, you know, if we're spreading information, that they are, it's accurate information.
Okay, I didn't accuse anyone of doing anything, and I already tried to straighten it out. I already said that's not what we do. I'm just saying, in Kern County, there's a shitstorm going on right now, just because one guy said one thing and another guy saying another thing. I mean, our county supervisors are turned upside down over, you know, people are not harmonious. All I said was, people are in Kern County are riled up a little bit, and they've been saying things, and I'm telling you that I've already said that's not the case, but I've already nipped it in the bud on mine, but I'm bringing it to you guys. So I just brought it to you. You don't have to do nothing with it. I'm still gonna show up at the next meeting.
No,
Thank you.
I appreciate that, John, because I think you're right, that's how it takes one bad actor to upend a county supervisors meeting, for sure. Keith, you had something to say?
I think.
You need to
staff-
turn on your
I think
microphone.
I think staff needs to address that.
Yeah, sure. Through the chair, I'll just iterate, I think maybe kind of trying to interpret maybe a little bit of the question and just acknowledge the concern that I think Mr. Sanders brings up. Just what Nayamin mentioned, all of the funding that we get, that we give to any group, whether it's to an individual for a grant, whether it's to a group like a nonprofit for doing work, to Nayamin's point, comes with a strict scope of work and has to meet certain milestones and metrics. No one gets a bunch of money up front. They actually get money at the back end after they've performed their due diligence. So I'll just acknowledge that and raise that, as well as just acknowledge that I think, you know, what I heard from other folks here, including Mr. Sanders, is that there's no indication that this body that we're meeting today is in any way kind of meeting that. So I just maybe it will appreciate all of us, you know, working to talk a little bit more about what we do here and maybe encourage folks to attend, the public members. We do have an opportunity for folks to listen in, like Mr. Williams is tonight, to understand what we do here and kind of the important work that certainly takes into account a lot of different perspectives. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, with that, thank you all for your time this evening. I appreciate it. And I will call this meeting adjourned at 7:41. We'll see you all on January 23rd at 5:30 next year.
Happy holidays.